family members and community members filling the gallery, some forced to stand along the walls as proceedings got underway. Magistrate Claudia Venter.
5 March 2026, that would be then for further investigations. You are in custody.
Police investigations will continue with detectives piecing together the evidence of the crash that claimed the lives of 14 learners. Monke Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Midday Park.
The Gauteng government has promised relief for the residents of Sporong informal settlement who were allegedly driven away from their homes by Zamazamas. More than 600 people have taken refuge at the Randgate Community Hall in Rand West. Several of the province's political and policing heads have descended onto the area this morning for an oversight inspection. Thabiso Goba is also there.
There's at least 50 police cars parked in the area as government officials conduct an oversight inspection at the Sporong informal settlement. The sight of heavily armed police officers carrying automatic rifles is what the displaced community members say they have been pleading for many years. Gauteng Police Commissioner Tommy Mtombeni says law enforcement is aware of the Zamazama issues in the area.
We are working closely with the community. We heard their concerns. We have put a commitment as directed by the Premier of the province. So we will, of course, be on the ground in this space. We have been on the ground in this space, but we'll just ensure that we reinforce.
Community members say today's police visibility should be an everyday thing and not a one-day event. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News, Sporong.
The Western Cape government has applied for national disaster status for the water crisis in Knysna and the recent wildfires. Knysna's water system is under severe strain with only days of water left in the network. At the same time, wildfires have ravaged several hectares of vegetation across the Cape, including the winelands, Overberg and Garden Route. Premier Alan Winde says a disaster declaration will help unlock additional resources and help accelerate relief and recovery efforts. He adds the declaration will also strengthen coordination between spheres of government.
And unfortunately, it's not over. You will see from the weather report that we're going to get today that the prediction is this fire season, this dry season is going to continue. We don't have an early prediction of early rains this year, and so that again keeps the pressure on the system.
Meanwhile, firefighters are tending to flare-ups in Franschhoek. Crews have prioritized protecting homes after multiple flare-ups broke out yesterday. Water-bombing helicopters have also been deployed to assist ground teams. Cape Winelands Municipality spokesperson Joanne Otto says the Franschhoek Pass is now open to traffic.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services report that active firefighting operations continue in the mountains above Franschhoek. No structures were damaged and no injuries were reported.
Southern Cape Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of a former colleague. Anneke van Heerden's body was found in a beach parking lot on Sunday. Police say a murder suspect was found in the bushes near the crime scene. Camray Clark has more.
Anneke van Heerden was reportedly meeting someone she recently met at the Kruger beach in Plettenberg Bay on Sunday. Officers responded to a complaint of a woman screaming when they discovered the former detective lying next to a car. The police's Chris Spess says an autopsy has been completed.
Plettenberg Bay police opened a murder docket following the death of a 54-year-old woman whose body was found at Kierbooms. The police arrested a 53-year-old man on a murder charge.
53-year-old Bevan van Druten was arrested on a charge of murder. Western Cape MPA spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila.
The state will oppose this bail application. In the meantime, the accused will be referred to a district surgeon for observation.
The matter resumes on Monday. Camray Clark, Eyewitness News.
And U.S. President Donald Trump says America is exploring a potential deal on Greenland after talks with NATO as he dropped planned tariffs on 8 European countries and ruled out using force to take the island. While details are scarce, diplomatic sources have, however, told CBS that there was no agreement for American control or ownership of the territory, while NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said he did not discuss Danish sovereignty over Greenland in his meeting with Trump. After the NATO-US talks, Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said they can negotiate on everything political, security, investments, economy, but they cannot negotiate on their sovereignty. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will meet Frederiksen for talks later. Gold's trading at $4,823.43 an ounce. The rand's at 16.18 to the dollar, at 21.76 to the pound, at 18.92 to the euro. Brent crude oil at $64.75 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, traffic is looking pretty good in the Joburg, Gauteng area. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive in Grosvenor. And in the mother city, there's an accident scene on the R300 northbound. This is approaching Bartley Road.
A look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected today. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 25 and 28 degrees. Cape Town's also partly cloudy this afternoon with fresh southwesterly winds at a high of 27 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: the driver of the deadly Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park, Ayanda Dludla, has abandoned his bail application.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702 on 92.7 and 106 FM.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
And on DSTV channel 856.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. Good afternoon, I'm Jane Dutton. Coming up, the driver behind the wheel, Ayanda Dludla, in the deadly Vol Scholar Transport, has appeared in court and has abandoned bail. We'll also be heading off to the Kruger National Park after devastating floods there. We're hearing that the damage is estimated at R500 million. In Parliament, suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi faces tough questions over alleged corruption and criminal links with Kat Matlala, with just for one of them, following explosive claims by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And an update from someone whose family has just left Iran, with reports the death toll is far higher than acknowledged. Blackouts and hard questions about where South Africa stands while backing a regime accused of atrocities. I would love to hear from you on any of these topics. 072 702 1702. The Cape Talk number 072 567 1567.
walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So Blitz is happening at the moment in Johannesburg, with cops finally checking out Scholar Transport. We're hearing that more than 100 have been impounded. Drivers are now threatening to stay away. That says a lot, doesn't it? Rather than clean up and be safe, let's rebel. Also, the driver behind the wheel of the Scholar Transport vehicle today has appeared in court. The accident has claimed 12 children's lives, with 2 more later dying from their injuries. Authorities have confirmed the driver previously held a professional driving permit, but it expired in November last year. Mongezi Koko is the reporter on this story. Mongezi, let's first start off with the news about the 2 children who died. Do we know what happened there?
A very good afternoon to you, Jane. Well, what we understand, of course, was that 2 learners succumbed to their injuries. As you'd remember that when the crash occurred, 12 died on the spot, 5 were hospitalized, and of that 5, 2 died. Therefore, we are learning of more and more details surrounding this. We understand that they sustained severe injuries, and the 3 others that remain in hospital are also still fighting for their lives. Police have since taken all of this information to the NPA in the hopes that they'll see a prosecution, but so far that's what we do understand, with the families still disheartened.
I should imagine that this really adds to the gravity of the case, as the driver appeared in court today.
Right, that's correct. It does add, indeed, Jane. What we are seeing is that the NPA has then decided to escalate these charges, adding those additional 2 deaths as part of charges preferred against Ayanda Dludla. He now faces 14 counts of murder as opposed to the initial 12 counts of culpable homicide. 14 charges, or 14 counts of murder, 3 of attempted murder. Those 3, of course, belonging to the children who are still for their lives at hospital. And he also faces a litany of other charges, one being that of not possessing a PDP, a professional driving permit, at the time of the accident, and another of negligent and, of course, reckless driving. So what we saw today, Jane, was a packed courtroom, family members, friends, and community members over there in court, grieving people, and it was also filled with spectators. But in equal part, we also saw a large contingent of the media, and this prompted the court, of course, to impose strict regulation, prohibiting the media from broadcasting or showing the faces of the magistrate herself, called the offender, or the prosecution, or even the defense. Quite emotional. Ayanda did walk in the courtroom with his head hung low and clasping his hands, of course. He did not react whatsoever when the state was presenting the charges against him, and the severity of those state charges. Of course, this has escalated to Schedule 6 offences, which bears quite a strong minimum sentence. So that happened, and then he also resolved to, of course, abandoning his bail. This was when he was posed that question: will he attempt to have his release, perhaps on bail, a bail bid? And he said no. That's something that he doesn't want. So really quick developments there, and then we saw the matter eventually postponed to the 5th of March for further investigation. And I posed a question to the MPA as to why the 5th of March. I mean, that's quite far from a that usually asks for about a week or 2 weeks if it's. In this case, there's dash cam footage which has been leaked to the public, and of course, they said that these investigations are there to include to strengthen the prima facie evidence that they have, and to also ensure that they are on the same page as the defense in this particular case.
All right, let's leave it there, Mongezi, and we do apologize for that sound which was breaking up while Mongezi was talking, but I think it's important that we stayed with that to hear that Ayanda Dludla has abandoned bail. We're going to be back in court on the 5th of March, and as Mongezi was saying there, obviously people want to get to the end of this traumatic incident. The dashcam footage is out. People have seen that. People have seen how the driver was driving recklessly, and we also know that he was driving without his professional driving permit, and the charges against him have been escalated, sadly, after those 2 more children died. Let's stick with this story, because Kusatu in Gauteng is holding a memorial prayer at the Vanderbijl Park crash site. They're standing with families who lost their children, one of the deadliest scholar transport accidents in recent years. You'll remember it happened on Monday. And this gathering is both an act of mourning and a call for accountability. Zanele Sabela is the spokesperson for Kusatu. A very good afternoon to you. What's your message today?
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So today we are basically here to show support for the parents who've lost their children, for the schools, and for the wider community. It is really a tragic thing that has happened, especially with hearing this morning that 2 more children have passed on. Given that, the school year was just beginning and these kids were really, really small, really, really young. They had their whole lives ahead of them. It is really a tragic thing, and so basically we wanted to say to the parents, we are thinking of them. We stand with them at this time. It is something that has actually quite shocked the whole nation, really.
No, you're absolutely right. Everybody's shocked. It's terrible that we have to reach this point before something has been done. I'm not sure if you've heard that there is an operation underway in Johannesburg. The scholar transport taxis are being investigated. Some have been impounded, and this has really angered drivers. Do you think that's enough?
You see, that's the problem. We do tend to be rather reactive. We do know that last week there was a campaign to actually raise this issue about scholar transport safety. So, and it's really sad that it happened right after that. And so we need to stop being reactive. When they are doing this and making sure that scholar transport is safe, it means constantly. The very way that Metro cops are very conscientious in terms of stopping taxis to make sure that, they comply with the rules of the road, and the people driving are licensed and they have their PDPs. They should do the same with the scholar transport. And also people do need to be vetted, in terms of who is driving. I mean, when we talk about it, we can talk about, but this person is really young. He's 22. And we do know that insurance companies do charge more premium until someone is actually 25 years of age. That means they know that we do tend to, when you're younger, you're a little bit more reckless. And so it would seem like someone he has now this big burden, his life is ruined, but then he's impacted so many other families, and it's really such a burden to carry.
Dan says the owner of the taxi should also be held accountable. What more would you like to see change? Obviously, these kind of investigations need to happen. These stop search operations need to be held more frequently. But what else? Because so often this kind of incident happens to working class families, those in rural areas.
That's the thing. It happens to working class families. And, at least here in Gauteng, children are being transported to school. We've seen those horror stories in the Eastern Cape where children have to swim across rivers to get to school. And so when you ask that, should the owner also be held liable, the owner should absolutely be held liable, because the owner should have made sure that this 22-year-old PDP, for one, is valid, and make sure. And we've had so much since this has happened to say that they actually hire younger drivers because they want to pay them less. You look for someone who only has a matric, and then that way you can actually pay him really little. And so definitely the owner of the vehicle, who is the one who is being paid, should also be held liable. They just can't get on with this. They should have made sure that the license is valid. Not only that, speak to the driver, but then also at the same time, us also as a community, we also need to, if you see children who are in scholar transport and are being packed like sardines, we mustn't look away. We need to take the number plate and make sure that, we follow up what is happening. Also, parents, sometimes parents, that's the other thing about working class parents, is that they often have to leave home very early and are not necessarily there to walk the child to the gate to make sure that what kind of car is my child going into. And so as a community also, I think we need to be very vigilant in looking after our own.
That's a good point. And if you see something, raise it, flag it. Zanella Sabella, spokesperson of COSATU, thank you.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Good afternoon, Jane. This thing about the terrible crash that killed all those kids, we keep hearing about the driver, but we hear nothing about the owner of the taxi. That 20-year-old, 22-year-old is unlikely to be the owner, and the owner surely has some responsibility for allowing a non-licensed driver to drive the vehicle. Please, who is the owner? Where is the owner, and why are we not hearing anything about the owner? Trust to you having a better day today, Tom.
What interests me about this accident is that not only is the driver being held accountable, what about the owners of the taxi? Surely they should be held accountable too. Ricky from Boksburg. Bye.
Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. The team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Dis-Chem Better Rewards program is here, and every time you shop and save, you're also giving back. Each time you swipe, not only are you rewarded, but a percentage of your purchase is donated to the Dis-Chem Foundation to support communities in need. So why wait? Sign up to become a Better Rewards member today and support with every swipe. Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community.
What happens when investment is driven by purpose? You build a legacy that lasts 30 years and counting. The Mine Workers Investment Company marks 3 decades of empowering mine workers and their families through smart, sustainable investment. Catch the Clement Mangatela Show in conversation with the MIC next week on 702. Find out how the 100% black-owned investment holding company has grown long-term cash-generative assets that fund education, social upliftment, and black business development across SA. That's the Clement Mangatela Show in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company next week on 702.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Good afternoon, Jane. Tabiso here. Jane, in this country, we don't have leadership really. So now we have to wait until there's a big tragedy. And then after that's when we see the law enforcement agency working. So why now? So all along they've been taking bribes and allowing all these cars and drivers to behave in this way. So now because of the tragedy, so now they must appear to be working. Why now?
Hello, Mandy. Those impounded taxis will be again in the road tomorrow and roads waiting as they are. And then it will be a circle. Nothing will be done. The traffic cop will get 20 rand for them to pass. Anonymous, thank you.
I mean, really is a disgrace, isn't it? I mean, often politicians just use this for a photo opportunity. And I mean, I saw a couple of roadblocks a couple of days ago, and as usual, it's the Merc, the BMW, and all the expensive cars that are stopped. Often, I mean, not everyone's corrupt, but many of them looking for a little payoff. All right, let's talk about higher education readiness. There are concerns over student placements, overcrowding, funding pressures, and whether universities and colleges are genuinely ready for 2026. So that's been driving today's briefing on the post-school sector. It was held by Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela, who was outlining plans for this year. Our reporter Dimakatso Leshoro has been keeping an eye on this. What did he say?
Well, he's basically said that there are so many learners who passed the class of 2025, over 650,000 of them, about nearly 40% of that have gotten bachelor passes. And there's very limited spaces at these higher institutions of learning. We know that a lot of learners applied last year in June, but they've had to wait now for last week or so when the minister announced the results. So this creates a crisis, if you will, even though he says it's not a crisis. He's denied that the system is failing. He just says that there is a lot of bachelor passes that they can't accommodate. Therefore, learners, parents must look at different pathways on how to get where they need to get. For example, he said, if you have learners, 1,000 learners who want to do law and they can only accommodate 100, then there's a problem. That creates a crisis. But the point is that institutions of higher learning can only plan on the skills that are needed by the economy. So if you have bachelor passes that exceed what they can intake, then it creates a problem.
So his suggestion is parents must wait and go for other alternatives.
He says they've started discussions with the Minister of Basic Education, Sivuya Kharube, on these bachelor passes, because we know the minister also mentioned, I think she made mention of the percentage of the pass rate. There's been debate about that and how we actually get to a bachelor pass. When you get to a university with that bachelor pass, you find that they don't qualify for whatever degree that they want to go to. So that creates a problem. So he says there must be synergy between the two departments.
He's also urging students not to travel without confirmed placement or accommodation. Clearly, that's a big problem too.
We've seen that every year.
Yeah.
We heard not so long ago in NFSAS speaking about that. The fact that, because of these late results announcements that he's mentioned, you have learners, students who are unconfirmed. Some of them, they've applied, but they haven't received results. Some have applied, accepted, but there's no guarantee in terms of accommodation because this year he says they are financing about 1 million learners, and there's much more. Keep in mind that part of those learners are return learners who are already in the system that they still have to finance.
Yes.
So they're trying to plan ahead to avert all of those problems that we usually see around February or so.
He also raised the problem with mathematics and gateway subject results under pressure. What was his concern there?
I mean, Jane, the debate that's been going on about the fact that we don't have enough learners, passing mathematics and going into the STEM careers that we really need as an economy. So that is a bigger discussion that has to happen, not only by higher education or basic education, but just literally going back to the basics in terms of how do we, get learners from high school to enroll into pure mathematics and support them to the point where they actually are able to pass. That includes having teachers who are able to teach the subject. So it's a broad discussion that will take a while to sort out, because at this point in time, it doesn't seem that there is a solution on how to deal with this demand that's there in the economy in terms of skills that are required and the learners that are there.
Dimakato, thank you very much.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So we've all seen the images, floodwaters tearing through Kruger National Park, forcing evacuations and leaving destruction behind. The damage has triggered a recovery fund to support rehabilitation, but it's also raised bigger questions about conservation, infrastructure, resilience. The Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Willie Okamp, has been addressing this. Lindsay Dentlinger has been listening in. Tell us what he said about the costs of the damage.
Good afternoon, Jane. Yes, so the briefing here at Parliament today, essentially to put a preliminary cost to the damage at R500 million, but very preliminary, Jane, because the flood waters have not yet resided, and so it is being difficult to do a full assessment and to have a full picture of what the extent of the damage is, but that is the preliminary estimate at this moment in time. Minister Okamp also saying that at the time of these floods, the park was still in the process of rehabilitating 3 bridges, rebuilding 3 bridges that were washed away in the 2023 floods, and so now they have this damage on top of what they were trying to repair from previous flooding. So what has become is evident, Okamp says, is that the park is a nodal point for climate change. That cannot be ignored, and whatever they do going forward has to essentially future-proof it for such kinds of weather events.
And I'm hearing that something like 500 people remain trapped.
They do. The northern parts, 14 camps, I should start there. 14 camps in the park are still closed and not accessible to visitors. The minister gave an extensive overview of the camps that can be reached. Those that can't be reached are mostly in the northern areas, and that's also where at least 500 staff at the Mopani and Olifants camps, they are still trapped there, but he assures us, and we've seen photographs, that they are being well taken care of, that food is being airlifted to them, and that they are keeping well. The minister, lots of praise today for SANParks, for their staff, for the evacuation efforts, saying that this had been done without any injury, without any loss of life, that they had accommodated visitors who were in tented camps at the time that the flood waters came down, were being accommodated or had been accommodated in chalets, all at no cost. But as you can imagine, Jane, SANParks are saying this is going to have a massive knock on the money that they make from the park. It is their premier resort. It is the park that they, the income that they use to fund so many of the other parks and other facilities across the country. Already visitor numbers are down just in these last 2 weeks compared to what they would normally see in other years. And so a lot of work has to now go into this recovery effort. But here's Minister Willie Okamp saying that corporates and international donors have already come forward to want to contribute to that recovery effort. And he will make sure that the money is going to go for the intended purpose, Jane.
Our goal is to ensure that all of the necessary government protocols are in place so that we can confidently assure donors that their monies will not be pillaged. Every single cent that is going to be donated to either of these two funds will go for the recovery of Kruger National Park, nothing else. No other operational issues will be covered by this. No staff salaries, nothing. The Kruger recovery will be paid from this.
Essential, isn't it? All right, it's 12:31, time for the news headlines.
Thanks, Jane. Good afternoon. The driver of the deadly Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park, Ayanda Dludla, has abandoned his bail application. The 22-year-old appeared briefly before the Vanderbijl Park Magistrates Court this morning, where the state confirmed he's facing additional charges. Dludla is facing 14 counts of murder after attempting an illegal overtake maneuver that killed 12 children on the spot and another 2 who succumbed to their injuries in hospital. Flood damage to South Africa's premier game reserve, the Kruger National Park, is being estimated at R500 million. However, Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Minister Willie Oakam says that's only a preliminary estimate, with accessibility after the heavy flooding still making it impossible to do an extensive assessment. Oakam has today launched a recovery fund to support the rebuilding exercise. And South Korea has become the first country to enact a comprehensive law on the safe use of artificial intelligence. The Basic Act on the Development of Artificial Intelligence and the establishment of a foundation of trustworthiness officially took effect today. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagile Mganga. Yannick Sinner, Stanislav Wawrinka, Novak Djokovic and Madison Keys are just some of the big names who are through to the third round of the Australian Open. Iga Swiatek also cruised into the next round after a straight sets win over Marie Bazovka.
Actually, it's my goal for this year to, even go somewhere and just rest and not do anything, because I tend to do other stuff, off court, obligations. So obviously there are stuff that needs to be done, but I also take quite a lot on my shoulders. So my goal for this season is actually to unplug a bit better, and then hopefully I'm going to have more energy till the end of the season.
The Pretoria Capitals secured their place in the SA20 final after a 7-wicket win over the Sunrisers Eastern Cape. Today, Paarl Royals play the Joburg Super Kings in a playoff, with the winner set to face off against Sunrisers for a place in the final. James Vince and the Kings are looking to make it back-to-back wins over their Paarl opponents following their victory on Monday.
Yeah, well, it's nice, obviously, coming into this game off the back of a win, as you say, against the same opposition. But, it's a new day, new game, as you say, new conditions. So what happened a couple of days ago in Paarl gives us a bit of confidence. We know tomorrow's going to be a different challenge against a good side. So we'll have to make some adjustments there. But, yeah, certainly, that win came at a good time. Obviously, we needed to win. And I think the belief and confidence is back within the group.
And 8 stadiums across Australia have been confirmed as host venues for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, with all matches in Melbourne to be played under a closed roof. Sydney Olympic Stadium will be the most heavily used and will host the final on the 13th of November. The third place playoff, both semi-finals, 2 last 8 clashes as well as 2 pool games. Perth Stadium will host the opening fixture on the 1st of October and will play host to 6 other fixtures. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, if you're leaving Centurion heading into the Pretoria CBD, traffic is a bit sluggish on the N14 northbound. This is approaching Kgosi Mampuru. There's also traffic lights are not working in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive and Grosvenor. Also, traffic lights are not working in Edenville at Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeck. In the Mother City, we have that accident scene on the R300 northbound after Potterley Road. This is causing some delays. There's also a failed fire on the N1 inbound approaching Klapmats. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a shift worker making his way home and daydreaming about his next career move, his next chapter. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a possible light bulb moment that could change someone's life. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Dreaming of a tropical escape?
World Leisure Holidays has your ticket to paradise with exclusive getaways to the Indian Ocean Islands. From the beaches of Mauritius and the Maldives to the charm of Madagascar, Seychelles, Zanzibar, and more, your dream destination awaits. Take advantage of early bird specials and pay stay offers. Call 011-285-2500 and mention 702 for a mystery discount. Or follow us on social media or contact your nearest travel professional. Start planning your escape today. T's and C's apply.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
Hi, Jane and the team. I think we need to ask ourselves why these learners need a scholar transport. Because failure to do so, we will be seen doing something while doing nothing. There is a trigger why these learners need a scholar transport, which means there are no schools around. David.
Afternoon, Jane. I know what I'm about to suggest will be very extreme, but with all what is happening with scholar transport, you still having parents allowing their kids to board these scholar transports that are unroadworthy or for some reason shouldn't even be scholar transport in the first place. You know, detain those kids, and those parents must come to the police station and claim their kids. One by one, go to the police station, claim their kids, and it will show how serious this issue is. Parents must take accountability as well.
Why is everyone carrying on about a PDP? A PDP means absolutely nothing. A PDP is just a piece of paper that says you've got your driver's license, you've gone to a doctor, and you're fit and healthy to drive. Then you go to the traffic department, and then you get it stamped, and then you've got a piece of paper now with a PDP. You're not professional. It's just a piece of paper, bottom line.
Thanks for all the messages. Yeah, everyone is feeling extremely angry and devastated about this horrific incident that could have been prevented. All right. This morning, we've been hearing from the suspended EMPD Deputy Chief appearing before the ad hoc committee, Julius Mkwanazi. He's talking now, and Babalo Ndenze is on that story, EWN reporter. What have we been hearing so far?
Good afternoon, Jane. Yes, indeed, Julius Mkwanazi taking the stand. And so far, over the last hour or so, we've just been hearing a lot of background detail about his employment within the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. He's been there for, a couple of decades. Also talking about his educational background as well. And he did confirm, at some point during his background that he was suspended in 2023, for 3 months, where he was sitting at home for, working for or allegedly or accused by the Metro for, doing Cat Matlala's bidding and providing him with blue lights and also, with branded vehicles. And he was suspended for that, which is also one of the reasons that he was suspended again just last year. So Cat Matlala for him dates back quite a couple of years, his initial suspension, and he confirmed that. And he also, talking about issues, around, what he really does on a day-to-day basis, how he, he's basically, as the deputy chief, in his career, he was working a lot of, crowd control or crowd management. And that's basically what his submission has been so far. We haven't really gotten to the real, gist of the allegations that he's facing. We know that his allegations are quite serious, Jane. These are allegations that, he received payments from Cat Matlala on a number of, a few times from Matlala, which is amounting to thousands of rands, basically. Also allegations that, quite a serious allegation that also came up at the Madlanga Commission on how he was part of this group of people in the Metro that were part of, a plot to dispose of a dead body, we know that came up quite extensively at the Madlanga Commission. And we also know Witness D, the witness that was murdered in front of his house at the Madlanga Commission late last year. He was the one who made this allegation against Julius Mkhwanazi. So we're really going to start to see, I think, in the afternoon session, once he's done with this background, once the evidence leaders start to get to the meaty part of his affidavit or his sworn statement, we will start to hear more questions about these serious allegations, Jen.
All right, Babalo, let's leave it there and let's dip in and hear what's going down at the ad hoc committee. All right, we're going to go back to that a little bit later. And how's he come across? Was he better behaved than Robert McBride? All right, we seem to have lost Babalo there. Apologies. Hello, Robert. Okay, let's go over to the ad hoc committee.
There was no contract between EMPD and Mr. Van Wyk or Medicare 24 clinic at the time. So what was the nature of your relationship?
I think it was ordinary. Like, I don't know how to explain it. But every time when we want to meet with him, we'll meet with Mike, discuss issues. But also his clinic was around the city of Ekurhuleni, you see. I think that's why he decided to assist and get passionate about us as police and this thing. And we'll keep on referring that, no, society must take care of police. Society must make sure that police are being cared of, all those things. But the relationship was not that close by that time, you see. But I must say that even when the memorandum of understanding was not, we didn't respond to him formally, we didn't respond to anything. But he continued to have this relationship with us, communicating and doing everything. See, there was constant communication, let me say, because my office Boksburg, our members of specialized unit were reporting at Boksburg. His medical care clinic was in Boksburg.
Okay.
All right, let's leave Mkhwanazi there. He is at the ad hoc committee to the claims by the other Mkhwanazi, and we'll keep monitoring that throughout the day.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
So displaced residents from Sporong remain in limbo after being driven from their homes by illegal miners. And we know that this has been going on for some time. Some of them being placed in accommodation that they feel they're just never going to get out of. Some of them are concerned about their lives. Tabisa Goba, EWN reporter, is on this story today. Tell us what's the status there of those who've been driven from their homes?
Good afternoon, Jane. Well, according to the Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, he's made a promise that by 7 days, this hall, the Randgates Community Hall, where more than 600 people have crammed themselves here, he said it will be empty because they are planning on reallocating them over the next 7 days. Now, we did have an opportunity to speak to the MEC for Human Settlement, Tasnim Montara, in terms of how that process is going to unfold over the next 7 days. And what she said is that there's actually 4 sort of steps that are going to happen. The first step is that the people who have been pre-approved for RDP homes, because there had been an audit at the Sporong Informal Settlement for people who qualify for RDP homes. So she said those who have been approved will be taken to RDP homes, and that for the second step is that for those women and children and those families, they will be taken to shelters by the Department of Social Development. And then for those people that want to return to Sporong Informal Settlement, the police have assured that there will be increased police visibility. There will be 2 Nyalas stationed there over the next 2 weeks to ensure that the area is safe. And unfortunately, Jane, there are obviously people here who are foreign nationals and who are not obviously documented. And due to that fact, they obviously do not qualify for RTP homes, and they do not qualify to be placed in government shelters. For those people, they obviously have to find alternative accommodation. But this issue, Jane, of it's not just an issue that's affecting the people here at Randgate. It's an issue all over Gauteng. And we had an opportunity to speak to the Gauteng Police Commissioner Tommy Mtombeni, on what the police are doing about the scourge of zamazamas, and this is what he had to say.
That's public knowledge, and out of that we are looking at the areas which are next to Beggersdal, the areas which is Mhlakeng, your Kagiso, your West Noria, your Carltonville. So in terms of that stabilization team, we are really making an inroad. I'll say last week we were in Losberg, which is West Noria. On the side of illegal mining, we engage those people who challenge us in terms of shooting. We managed to arrest one person and AK-47 possession of one suspect with over 220 ammunitions. So we are making inroads.
Teresa, briefly, if you will, what is it that these illegal miners, these zamazamas, are doing to the community?
Well, Jane, the Sporong informal settlement is built near a decommissioned mine. And for many years, the communities have sort of lived relatively peacefully with the zamazamas. But unfortunately, as sort of the gold-bearing material dries up, what the zamazamas have done now is they're no longer going there for just the gold-bearing material, but they're now attacking the informal settlement residents. They're robbing them and, in some cases, even sexually assaulting them. So it's quite a number of abuses that residents have told us, and that's why they've taken this drastic step, Jane, of moving from their homes, and 600 of them are now crammed at the Rengates Community Hall, and they have been here for over 2 weeks. And what the residents have said that, they are cautiously optimistic by this visit by the provincial government that there may be a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
All right, Tabisa Goba, thank you.
Got big dreams for 2026? New goals, new adventures, new car? Don't wait. Let's jumpstart your January with up to 75,000 Rand cash back when you buy selected quality pre-owned cars from participating Motor Select dealerships nationwide. Don't wait for life to happen. Make it happen with Motor Select. Deal ends Saturday, 24 January. Hurry to motorselect.co.za now. T's and C's apply.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like the eager beaver driving to meet the woman of his dreams. Butterflies in his stomach, GPS on full volume. He checks his hair for the 7th time.
Looking good.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a possible love story on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
What happens when investment is driven by purpose? You build a legacy that lasts 30 years and counting. The Mine Workers Investment Company marks 3 decades of empowering mine workers and their families through smart, sustainable investment. Catch the Clement Mangatela Show in conversation with the MIC next week on 702. Find out how the 100% black-owned investment holding company has grown long-term cash-generative assets that fund education, social upliftment, and black business development across SA. That's the Clement Mangatela Show in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company next week on 702.
Walking this talk together.
Every hour.
Every day. This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Previous callers make a very, very good point about who the owner of the taxi is and why we haven't heard who this guy is and why he hasn't been brought to book. Because if this had been a company vehicle, you can be 100% certain that the owner of the business would have been ripped before the courts for allowing a driver to drive without the necessary permits. Cheers, Peter.
Afternoon, Jane. This is Kamala from Pretoria. That public driver's permit, PDP, whether valid or not, it's useless. It means nothing. It's just a form that they fill up. They go to a GP and an optometrist, hoping that those two professionals are credible. Everything gets ticked up, and then from there, anyone can drive a taxi or any public vehicle. So it means nothing. It says nothing about the character of the driver or how skilled they are. It's just a form that gets filled up. So whether valid or not, it's useless.
What we also heard, that young and cheap in charge of our children. Thank you very much for your comments. So Iran, as I'm sure you are well aware, has been rocked by weeks of protests driven by economic collapse and political repression. Human rights groups report thousands of deaths, though access restrictions and internet shutdowns make verification very difficult. The unrest is drawing global attention, including from South Africa, which maintains close diplomatic ties with Tehran. Nega Esfandiari is a journalist, British Iranian journalist in the UK, who joins us on the line. A very good afternoon to you. Nega,
Good afternoon, Jane. It's good to be here.
I know that you've got some family which has just returned from Iran. What did they find?
Right. Well, so the interesting thing was that they, for the first time, arrived at the airport without hijab, and the atmosphere is one of security forces or anyone in office being challenged, and they explained a sense of fear from those authorities of people challenging them and not putting up with the being stopped for the minutiae of those basic human rights, because the issues are so vast now that that's the small things that they're not responding to anymore, because that, of course, was a mandatory rule that every woman has lived with for decades now, for 4 or 5 decades.
And what are they
So
frightened
that was one of the
of?
things. Well, I think because people aren't scared to say, to challenge them, to shout back and to crowd around. So these are just the kind of more office-based authorities. But, obviously the crackdown has been huge and continues. The full scale of everything is only emerging now, that there's sort of threadbare communication. There are stories of, obviously now, I mean, they say the protesters, the killings have stopped, but in fact, they've only just begun, because those people who now are continuing to be arrested, they're asking people to come forward if they had anything to do with the events, but they're seeking them out now, and they are, charging them with warring with God. So that has nothing to do directly with the protests. So it's a way of bypassing that they're not being killed for protesting, but in fact, that's a death sentence. So the killings are only just beginning, these charges. So including doctors. And this is the thing, because as you may have reported previously, the ambulances and hospitals are a way of arresting people. So the wounded go for help. So people generally don't go there for help. But obviously in those situations needs must, and a lot of people did. But they were arrested, and, they were administering final shots to the head to people who were only wounded. That has been recorded. And so people were leaving, their bodies were leaving the hospitals with catheters still in place, people who were being treated. That's one aspect. The other is that many people, because they didn't go to hospitals, went to doctors' houses. People were being treated, doctors were offering to treat people for free. So they were treating people, and now those homes have been raided. The doctors are being arrested for helping the wounded, helping the people who are standing up against the government.
How did we get to this point? Why this level of violence? Who's behind it, and what's going to stop it?
Well, so when you say who's behind it, there have also been reports of Iraqi Shiite, people on the ground, and Pakistani. So they bring in other people. They talk about foreign intervention for helping
this is the
protesters,
regime.
but in fact, yes. So they are using, foreign people on the ground, their proxies, and so it's perhaps easier for them to shoot and kill. And so they're on their last legs, and obviously the economy was the final straw, but it's every part of life, every aspect of life has been made impossible now. So this is just the final straw, when people's life savings and actual salaries can't even, make a week's groceries. The money is worthless.
And
they've been
what did
spending.
what did your relatives say about the mood in the country? I should imagine there's abject fear, and where this leaves the leadership, the supreme leader Khamenei, for example.
Well, I don't think he cares about popularity. I mean, the mood on the ground is they left just before the blackout, so they were there when the bazaars were protesting, and it was at that level. But the mood generally is that these people aren't armed, so they need help. No revolution can happen without arms, so they are lying low for now, until something concrete can happen. But it's really the last stages of this regime. It has to be, because there is no support. The support is minimal now in the country, because the lifestyle they're left with affects absolutely everybody. There is no one who's not affected, be it the daily things like gas, electricity, water. The country is not running as it should. So, these foreign militia who were on the ground, I mean, there were people in chador, the full black robes, among the people shooting at close range. The other horror story is that what they do for the future is that they deliberately blinded people. So there are about 600 surgeries that we've heard of from ophthalmologists, who had to remove eyes from pellets that are deliberately shot at the eyes. So generally the shots were all to the head and chest, but there were pellets shot in eyes. So then you blind the people, and then they're very visible in society thereon.
Yeah.
So these are very dark tools of this regime. It's medieval.
Tell me about, so you mentioned the other players who are there, because it's obviously easier to shoot others than your own. It seems to be what's playing out. What about the US stance on Iran? What's Israel trying to get out of this? I mean, obviously it suits Israel if there's a kind of civil war playing out there. They're also engaging with Reza Pahlavi, the son of Iran's former Shah.
Yes. So Reza Pahlavi is really a symbol here. He's a symbol for the people. It's saying no more of this, and he is a name that they can call for. He's never presented himself as a leader, but now has stepped into that role in response to the people. It's more a signal of the nationalism and a call for something else. And people also have visually seen through documentaries what Iran looked like before, and the engagement with the rest of the world. And that is a point, actually, that all these people killed, this highly creative youth, an incredible society of thinkers and very talented people who, as one person said, need to be unleashed to the world. Iranians have not been part of the global market at any point. And so I think Reza Pahlavi would be a way in terms of with the links with America and Netanyahu, because unfortunately he has a relationship with Netanyahu, which I perceived would be very problematic for Iranians. But actually, I think it creates a buffer for, actual conversations for the next steps forward with perhaps support, but with Iranians choosing. And he only posits himself as a transitional person. He has no interest in staying there, or his involvement will be at another level.
Well, fascinating hearing about what's happening, first-hand account of the devastation and the violence in Iran. Negar Esfandiari, thank you very much for talking to us.
Because this journey is better taken together.
Let's walk the talk. 702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock, time for the news.
This is EWN.
Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport crash driver abandons bail bid, and Western Cape officials working to avert a day zero in Knysna. Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. The driver of the Scholar Transport crash in Vanderbijl Park, Ayanda Dludla, has abandoned his bail application. The 22-year-old appeared briefly before the Vanderbijl Park Magistrates Court this morning, where the state confirmed he's facing additional charges. Dludla is facing 14 counts of murder after attempting an illegal overtake maneuver that killed 12 children on the spot and another 2 who succumbed to their injuries in hospital. Mungezi Koko has more.
In addition to the 14 counts of murder, Ayanda Dludla also faces 3 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of driving without a valid professional driving permit. He kept his head down throughout court proceedings, speaking softly and offering no reaction as the state outlined the seriousness of the case against him. The courtroom was packed to capacity, with grieving family members and community members filling the gallery, some forced to stand along the walls as proceedings got underway. Magistrate Claudia Venter.
5 March 2026, that would be then for further investigations. You are in custody.
Police investigations will continue, with detectives piecing together the evidence of the crash that claimed the lives of 14 learners. Monke Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Vanderbijl Park.
Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi has promised the displaced residents of Sporong informal settlement they'll be relocated in 7 days. More than 600 Sporong residents have been staying at a community hall for more than 2 weeks after being driven away from their homes, allegedly by Zamazamas. Today, Lesufi, along with several senior government officials, conducted an oversight inspection in Sporong and spoke to displaced residents at the Randgate Hall in the Rand West. Lesufi apologized to the residents on behalf of the provincial government, saying they should have intervened earlier.
So I said to the team, let's clear it completely. Go to the housing waiting list. Those that got subsidies, give them houses, and we demolish the informal settlement that will come out of it. And those that don't have subsidies, will place them in an appropriate area where there are facilities. And those that wants to go back, will assist them to escort them to go back.
Flood damage to South Africa's premier game reserve, the Kruger National Park, is being estimated at R500 million. However, Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Minister Willie Oukamp says that's only a preliminary estimate, with accessibility after the heavy flooding still making it impossible to do an extensive assessment. Oukamp has today launched a recovery fund to support the rebuilding exercise. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Minister Willie Oukamp has lauded Sandpark staff for bringing all visitors and staff to safety without loss of life or injury. At least 500 staff at the Mopani and Olifants camps are, however, still trapped as the floodwaters make it impossible for them to leave. Oukamp says the restoration has to future-proof the park for the effects of climate change, with it still having been in the process of recovering from flooding in 2023 when this season's heavy rains began.
The Kruger National Park is increasingly a natural disaster nodal point. Climate change is a reality.
Oukamp's given the assurance that the highest fiduciary oversight will be exercised over a Sandparks Kruger Park Recovery Fund, which will raise money in tandem with the Sandparks Honorary Rangers Fund.
Our goal is to ensure that all of the necessary government protocols are in place so that we can confidently assure donors that their monies will not be pillaged.
The park is due to celebrate its centenary this year. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Western Cape government says it's working around the clock to avert a possible day zero in Knysna as the Gardenroot town's water crisis deepens. Knysna's primary water source is now sitting at just 18% capacity, leaving the town with an estimated 13 days of water left in the system if consumption continues at current levels. Last week Friday, the Knysna Council declared the municipality a local disaster area, while the provincial government is in the process of approaching the National Disaster Management Centre for a formal disaster declaration. And Tutuzela Nene has more.
Western Cape government officials have given an update on the Knysna water crisis and the recent wildfires across the Cape, including the Winelands, Overberg and Gardenroot. Local government head of department Graham Paulser says efforts are now concentrated on trying to fill the Akkerkloof Dam to stabilize the system.
We had 2 or 3 balls come online. There's various other augmentation by means of springs. The provincial
provincial government is working very closely with the national department to ensure that Niger does not reach a day zero.
Level 4 water restrictions are currently in place and residents are urged to drastically reduce their water usage. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
And the National Assembly suspended a Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief, Julius Mkhwanazi, has started his testimony before Parliament.